In today's video, we're going to dive into the upcoming weather pattern, taking a look at some very cold air that is already making its way in. I know today was a bit warmer along the eastern seaboard, but tomorrow will be much different. By the time we reach Saturday and Sunday, there will be another warm day, but the overall theme will be colder temperatures. We'll continue to see cooler temperatures in the eastern United States, and we need to track a few snowstorms. These will impact areas from the northern southeast, mid-Atlantic, northeast, Ohio Valley, Midwest, and Great Lakes, all of which will experience chances of snowfall. Severe weather will also be a topic of discussion, so let's dive into it. We're looking at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from the National Weather Service. From the 19th to the 23rd of February, we can expect warmer temperatures on the West Coast, a pattern known as a positive PNA. However, this one is pretty west-based, while we often see this extend into the Rockies. This time, cooler temperatures are expected for those areas, so it's a very west-based pattern. As a result, the cold will mainly affect the Plains, Ohio Valley, and parts of the Midwest, although it will stretch into the eastern seaboard. The heart of the cold will be centered more around the central United States rather than the east. As we look at the precipitation day after day, we see it continuing to move closer to the southeast. We've seen storms move through these areas, but none are expected after this. We've also seen the precipitation pattern drop off significantly. However, the southeast remains a concern with potential storms like a nor'easter possibly developing. We'll be discussing that more later. Looking ahead to the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, we see a significant change. The basic premise remains the same, but the reasoning is different. There's a much wider positive PNA, almost fully east-based, which is the opposite of what we've seen. This outlook covers February 21st through the 27th, and it shows a full-blown warm pattern in the western half of the United States. As a result, the cold will be suppressed to the southeast, with some of it stretching into the northern and western parts of the country, but the heart of the cold will be in the southeastern states. This pattern is very similar to what we saw in January. When we look at the precipitation, we can expect much of it to be driven out as the cold air dives deeper into the southeast. Many storms will move well offshore, too far to have much of an impact. So we might see a colder but drier pattern, much like January. This is probably the third or fourth time I've mentioned January in this video, even though we're past it. But there are a lot of similarities. Looking at the past 10 days of temperatures, we continue to see a cooling trend, especially in the Plains and Midwest. Cold air is moving into these regions, even reaching the Great Lakes. The Northeast is also cooling down, and the Deep South continues to see a shift further southward. Overall, we're already seeing a cooling trend, and this is only going to worsen as time goes on. I'm curious to see how February will end, especially since we had a very warm start, but the cold air may make a comeback. Let's now take a look at the European model. Yesterday, there were some issues, but today the European model runs came out as expected. We're seeing much more activity in the west tomorrow with snowfall and rainfall depending on your location. The west will be very active, while the east will see a quieter pattern with cooler temperatures. Saturday is when the action picks up again, with snow in the north for the Midwest, Great Lakes, and Northeast. A low will form in the south, leading to severe weather for some areas. By 4 p.m., we haven't seen the severe weather start yet, but we'll need to monitor it closely as it develops overnight. By 1 a.m., thunderstorms are expected, and there's potential for a severe weather outbreak. This could be a significant event, so we'll be keeping a close watch. Unfortunately, this looks like it will happen overnight, which makes it even more dangerous. Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama in particular need to stay alert, but surrounding states should also monitor closely. Let's continue to track this as it unfolds. We see that this low ends up being very strong over areas of Pennsylvania, with thunderstorms present from the mid-Atlantic southward along the eastern seaboard by Sunday afternoon. This is definitely something to watch, and there may even be a weather threat in these areas. While it's still uncertain, there is certainly a chance. Meanwhile, significant snowfall is expected across the Cascades and Rockies as the activity continues in those regions. Snowfall will also persist in the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, and parts of the Northeast. However, as this storm moves into the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast, mixing issues will arise, particularly to the east of the low. The western side of the system is where we'd expect more persistent snowfall. By Monday afternoon, the pattern resembles what we'll see on Friday, with plenty of activity in the west, especially over the Cascades and Rockies, while the east experiences a quieter but much colder pattern. Monday, February 17th, will be extremely cold in the east, and those frigid conditions will persist into Tuesday, February 18th, when we see another low developing. This next system is particularly interesting because it poses a threat to my local area in southeastern Virginia. The key question is where the low will originate. Will it take a turn off the southeast coast, or will it form farther north and move into the mid-Atlantic? If the low follows the southern route, areas farther south will need to be on high alert. However, if it develops farther north, the northern areas will see more wintry impacts, while my local area and farther south will likely see mostly rain. As this system develops, snowfall will spread across the plains, though there is still some uncertainty about its exact placement. 5 days out, it's unclear whether snow will extend as far south as Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri, or if the rain-snow line will be farther north, leading to more snow for Nebraska and Iowa instead. Alternatively, if the system tracks farther south, we could see increased snowfall in northern Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. By Wednesday, this particular model takes the low and pushes it southward into the Gulf, bringing significant moisture into the system. Snowfall will already be occurring in parts of the lower Appalachian Mountains. Meanwhile, an Arctic air mass will be firmly in place, ensuring that cold air is readily available for the storm. At this point, the snowfall placement is slightly farther north than in the GFS model. The low is positioned well to the south, but not enough cold air is in place to bring widespread snow. As a result, snowfall is likely for the mid-Atlantic, while areas like southeastern Virginia and eastern North Carolina may experience an ice storm or a cold rain event. However, the mid-Atlantic could see significant snowfall, which would be great news for those who have been waiting for more snow this season. This system could also develop into a full-fledged nor'easter as it moves up the East Coast, particularly affecting southern New England. As of now, it appears to be weaker and more confined to the far eastern areas, but it does have potential. Looking ahead, another potential storm could develop around Sunday, February 23rd. A strong positive PNA pattern will be in place, creating a favorable setup for another storm system. The jet stream will support northern energy, and a low may try to develop in the Gulf. If this system connects with the jet stream, we could see another impactful storm. However, based on current model guidance, it appears that this system will track too far offshore to have much impact. Beyond February 23rd to 24th, the activity begins to decline. While another cool down is possible around the 25th to 28th, the pattern shifts to a clipper system setup, bringing snow primarily to the Midwest and Ohio Valley. Overall, after the 20th, there are significant uncertainties regarding how the pattern will evolve, so take these projections with a grain of salt. Turning to the GFS model, the first storm we discussed still appears likely, with severe weather expected across the Deep South on Saturday and the Southeast on Sunday. Meanwhile, winter weather will continue affecting the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, and Northeast. By Tuesday, February 18th, the low is positioned slightly farther south, with snowfall farther north over Kansas and Missouri and less accumulation in Oklahoma. The rain snow line is slightly farther north in this run. As we move forward, we see that the low closely resembles the European model. Previously, earlier model runs suggested a farther south track, but the latest 12Z run aligns more closely with the European model, bringing moderate to heavy snowfall to the mid-Atlantic and lighter impacts to southern New England. Regardless of the exact track, this system will be a close call for a potential coastal snowstorm. The jet stream appears nearly vertical at this point, indicating a strong north-south flow. This setup could influence the storm's trajectory, and we'll need to monitor how future model runs evolve. This is exactly the kind of setup needed for coastal snowstorms, a jet stream moving up and a low pressure system aligning with it. These vertical, up-the-coast snowstorms are rare but memorable when they occur, often bringing large snowfall totals. One that comes to mind is the December 2010 storm, which traveled straight up the East Coast. There have been a few others, but these storms tend to be significant and leave a lasting impression. By February 23rd, another coastal system signal appears, though the GFS model remains somewhat split on it. There is one piece of energy over the Gulf and another in the southeast, with a lack of strong, cold air. However, a northern piece of energy still manages to bring snowfall to the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast between the 23rd and 24th. Beyond this system, we see additional storm opportunities. The jet stream still features a western ridge and an eastern trough, but the trough is shifting more toward the central U.S. This setup could bring storms tracking through the southeast, potentially targeting the mid-Atlantic and northeast after the 25th. However, this is where uncertainty increases significantly. Even by March 1st, my birthday, by the way, we see a moisture-rich setup in the Gulf and southeast, with cold air lingering in the east. This could present another storm risk, but given that it's 9 days beyond February 20th, there is ample room for changes. Looking at total precipitation, the West receives substantial amounts, while the East shows a notable decline. This is due to a major storm having already passed through, reducing future totals in the model runs. Additionally, after the 25th, there are indications that activity could slow down, further contributing to lower precipitation amounts in the East. Examining precipitation anomalies, the picture is mixed. Some areas are above average, while others are below. The West appears to be increasing in activity, suggesting a shift in storm patterns. Now, looking at total snowfall on the European model, the West continues to see massive amounts. The Central States, Great Lakes, and Ohio Valley also fare well, with many areas seeing plowable snowfall totals. Purple shading represents 6 to 10 inches. Pink areas indicate 10 to 20 inches, and blue areas signify regions receiving less than 6 inches, which would be unimpressive for a 2-week period. In the mid-Atlantic and Northeast, snowfall amounts are quite impressive, with plowable totals in the mid-Atlantic and potentially multiple feet of snow in parts of the Northeast. Surprisingly, the GFS model is in strong agreement with this outlook. While the mid-Atlantic sees slightly more snow on the GFS, the overall pattern remains consistent across both models. Flipping between them shows remarkable similarity across nearly the entire country, which is impressive considering this projection extends 384 hours into the future, covering most of February. Please make sure you're subscribed to the channel and have notifications on so you'll be alerted if we do go live. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already.